أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 177, Surah An-Nur. Let's continue. Now with regards to this incident, basically 3 groups had formed in the city of Medina. The people were divided into 3 categories. First of all, it was a group of those people who participated in this actively, the Usbah, who spread the rumor, who spoke about it, who accused Aisha radhiyallahu anha. Secondly, it was those people who spoke against it. Some people, some Sahaba and Sahabiyat, they also spoke against this. They did not let other people confirm this. They said, this is a lie, this cannot be true. But there were only a few companions. Only a few. Inshallah, I'll mention about them. And thirdly, the large majority of people, they kept silent. They did not say anything. They did not affirm, they did not deny, they did not really talk about it. And those people who were talking about it, they did not really stop them either. So the vast majority of people, what was their position? Of silence. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reprimands them. Lawla, why not? How come? إِذْ سَمِعْتُمُوهُ, when you all heard it. When you heard about this ifk, why not ظَنَّ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ, the believing men and the believing women thought. Why did you not think بِأَنفُسِهِمْ, in their souls, خَيْرًا, good? Why did you not think good about Aisha radhiyallahu anha? وَقَالُوا, and how come they did not say that هَذَا إِفْكٌ مُبِينٌ, this is a clear lie, this is an explicit lie? Why did this not happen? Why did you remain silent? You should not have remained silent. You should have spoke up against it. Because you are supposed to be al-mu'minun and al-mu'minat, believing men and believing women. And we have learned earlier that wal-mu'minuna wal-mu'minat, who are they? Friends of one another, awliya of one another. They support one another. So is Aisha not a believer? Is Safwan not a believer? They're believers. How could you not support them? ظَنَّ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بِأَنفُسِهِمْ خَيْرًا. Why did they not think good بِأَنفُسِهِمْ? What does it mean by this بِأَنفُسِهِمْ? This has been understood in a number of ways. First of all, بِأَنفُسِهِمْ has been understood as in their hearts. That why did you not think in your hearts good about Aisha? And as a result of that say, هَذَا إِفْكٌ مُبِينٌ. How could you stay silent? How could you not say anything? How could you just let people talk about it? You should have thought good in your heart about her, about him. And you should have spoke up in their defense. Secondly, بِأَنفُسِهِمْ has been understood as on the basis of their estimation of themselves. That when you heard about that, why did you not judge concerning Aisha and Safwan just as you would judge concerning yourself? Could you ever expect that you would do such a thing? No. Then how could you expect that she would do such a thing? Or he would do such a thing? You should have put yourself in their position. If you can never expect something as such from yourself, then how could you expect something like that from her and from him? Thirdly, بِأَنفُسِهِمْ has been understood as بِإِخْوَانِهِمْ وَأَهْلِ دِينِهِمْ, about themselves, about one another, about your brothers in religion, about your sister in religion. How could you not think about her, about him in a good way? Because remember that believers, who are they? They're like one body. Isn't it so? And when the word anfus is used, although it may be referring to another believer, but you will consider the other believer as you will consider yourself. Because believers are like a part of one body. Or like a one wall that is together, that is standing together. All the bricks of which are standing together. So if one brick is missing, if one brick is broken, isn't that going to affect the whole wall? Yes. If one part of the body is hurting, isn't that going to affect the entire body? Of course it will. So, How could you not think good about yourselves? How could you not think good about yourselves? Because Aisha is a part of you. Safwan is a part of you. How could you not think about yourselves? So ظَنَّ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بِأَنفُسِهِمْ خَيْرًا وَقَالُوا, and they should have said, هَذَا إِفْكٌ مُبِينٌ, this is a clear lie. So we see that the majority of the people, they remained silent. And their silence is being condemned over here. Why? Because silence is what? Approval. If you remain silent, then what does it mean? You agree with it. So this shows us something very, very important. That when something wrong is being said, when a believer is being spoken negatively about, then you cannot remain silent. Because if you remain silent, then you are agreeing. You are approving. Now, it's possible that what the other person is saying, you don't know about it. You don't know if it's right or wrong. So how can you speak up in that position? You should assume good things about your brothers and sisters. Because, a person could say, well, the Sahaba, they didn't know. How could they know? They didn't have any witnesses. And it's possible, it might not have been possible. How could they know? They did not have the knowledge of the unseen. So this is why if they remain silent, they should not be blameworthy. But still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala condemns their behavior. Why? Because you should think positively about your brothers and sisters. That if somebody is daring to say something negative about them, stand up in their defense. If you think that you would never do such a thing, then definitely your brother and sister would also not do such a thing. If you would defend yourself, then you must defend your brother and sister as well. If somebody accuses you, you would not remain silent. Then how can you remain silent when the wife of the Prophet is being accused? How is that fair? That's not fair at all. So a very, very important lesson, that when a believer is being spoken ill of, let's say somebody is backbiting them, somebody is saying something negative about them, we cannot remain silent. We cannot remain silent. We have to stand up. We have to stop them. And we have to defend the believer. We cannot remain silent. And if you don't want to take a position because you don't know, you don't want to agree, you don't want to disagree, again you should stand up. First of all, thinking positively about the believer. And secondly, stopping the other people from speaking without knowledge. Because even they don't know what they're talking about. I remember once I had gone to this lecture, and as we came out of that lecture, somebody started saying negative things about the speaker. And what they were saying, honestly, I did not know about, whether it was true or not. But I felt that it was very disrespectful that there is a person who is speaking up on the podium about their religion. Regardless of whether you agree with them or not, you have to respect them. You cannot speak negatively about them. Okay, there might be some things that you may think are wrong. But what he is saying is according to the best of his knowledge. Isn't it so? And you have the right to disagree, but you do not have the right to defame the other person. You do not have the right to insult the other person, to talk negatively about them. So what they were talking about, that scholar, I could not confirm, nor could I reject, because I myself had no idea. I did not know. But I stopped them. I said, you cannot say anything like that about that scholar. Because you don't know. And I don't know. And he is a scholar. Allah gave him that position. Regardless of whether you agree with them or not, you cannot speak negatively about them. So, first of all, we have to defend believers. Secondly, if you don't know, don't let other people backbite. Don't let other people defame, insult others. This is not right. وَقَالُوا هَذَا إِفْكٌ مُبِينٌ. They should have said that this is a big lie. This is a clear lie. Because the reality is that if a believer is being insulted, if a believer is being defamed, in reality you are being defamed and insulted. Because who are believers? One body. If somebody insults your hands, if somebody says, oh, your hands are so ugly, will you start laughing? Will you? You'll take it personally. How dare you say that about my hands? They may say, oh, your hands are so ugly, but your nose is so beautiful. Would you like that? No. You wouldn't like that at all. So how can you think that a believer is being spoken negatively about, and the other person may be praising you, and you're okay with that? You can never be okay with that. This is not okay. So when other people are speaking negatively, stand up. Stop them. Don't let them spread rumors. Don't let them spread hatred. We cannot allow this. And this we have to apply in our daily lives, and also within the society. Within the friends and the people whom we are with, day in and day out, at work, at school, wherever. Speak up in defense. We learned that Abu Ayyub al-Ansari and his wife, they were of those who spoke up against those people who accused Aisha radiallahu anha. We learned that the wife of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, Ayyub, she said to him, "Oh Abu Ayyub, have you heard what the people are saying about Aisha?" He said, "Yes, and it is all lies. It is all lies." He said, "Would you do that, O Ayyub? If you were in her position, would you do that?" She said, "No, by Allah, I would not do that." He said, "And by Allah, Aisha is better than you." Why? She is the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So think positively about other believers. And if somebody is saying something negative about them, don't let them talk negatively about them. Don't let them spread hatred. If you don't know much, again, think positive and don't let them spread hatred. Allah says, "Lawla," why not? "Ja'u alayhi," they came upon it, meaning for this accusation, for this qadaf. Why did these people, meaning the accusers, why did they not bring bi-arba'ati shuhada, with 4 witnesses? Because if you accuse someone of having committed zina, what do you have to produce? Witnesses. So why did they not produce witnesses? فَإِذْ لَمْ يَأْتُوا بِالشُّهَدَاءِ, then when they did not produce the witnesses, when they did not come with the witnesses, فَأُولَٰئِكَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْكَاذِبُونَ, then those people, in the sight of Allah, they are the liars. Because what did we learn previously? That if a person accuses another of fornication, then he has to produce witnesses. And if he does not, then punishment has to be inflicted on him. And he loses his credibility. And according to some scholars, his witness will never ever be accepted. So Allah says, فَأُولَٰئِكَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْكَاذِبُونَ. People who accuse others without evidence, who are they? Liars in the sight of Allah. Because they have the guts to speak without knowledge, without confirming the truthfulness of something, without providing any evidence. Because the problem over here is that they did not provide any evidence. The fact is that they did not have any witnesses at all. And the fact that they did not have any witnesses, it was enough that they were lying about it. They were lying about it. Because what did we learn earlier? That لا تقف ما ليس لك به علم. Do not pursue what you do not have knowledge of. Why? Because إن السمع والبصر والفؤاد كل أولئك كان عنه مسؤولا. Every faculty, your eyes, your ears, and as well as your heart, all of them are going to be questioned. You're going to be questioned about them. That why did you say something which you did not see yourself? Why did you pass on something what you did not confirm yourself? You cannot do that. So if you're saying something, have evidence. When you don't have evidence, remain silent. Because if you speak without knowledge, then you become a liar. فَأُولَٰئِكَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْكَاذِبُونَ. So this ayah shows a very, very important lesson. That before formulating an opinion about someone, before passing on some information, inquiry is very, very important. Very, very important. Before passing on some information, before reacting in any way, before confirming, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? Inquire about it. And see what the evidence is. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying they did not have any evidence. When they did not have any evidence, they're supposed to be liars. And remember that it's enough for a person to be a liar that he passes on whatever he hears. Something very, very important. It is enough for a person to be a liar that he passes on whatever he hears. He does not confirm. Oh, I heard so-and-so say something about them. And you pass that information on. You have no evidence. You have no proof. You did not confirm it yourself. And you're passing it on. You're passing on rumors about them. And unfortunately, people who are in the limelight, people who are up on the podium, people whom everybody is looking at, many times wrong things are said about them. And people spread false information about them without any evidence. Like, for example, if a scholar, has not come, or if a scholar has gone somewhere, it's because, the government did something against them. How do you know? You have any evidence to support? When you don't have any evidence, do not open your mouth. Do not open your mouth. Never say anything like that. Similarly, if a woman is staying with her parents' house for some time, people will assume, maybe divorce, maybe separation. You have any evidence? No, you don't have any evidence. Don't say anything then. If you have to say anything, back it up with evidence. When you don't have evidence, remain silent. Because if you don't remain silent and you say that, then you're a liar. وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ. And if it had not been for the favor of Allah upon you and His mercy. Had it not been for the favor of Allah and His mercy upon you, فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ, in the dunya and in the akhirah, لَمَسَّكُمْ, surely it touched you. What would touch you? Fi, concerning مَا أَفَضْتُمْ, what you indulged in, what you spoke in detail about, فِيهِ, concerning it, عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ, a great punishment. Had it not been for the favor and mercy of Allah on you in this dunya and akhirah, a great punishment would have come upon you because of what you did, because of what you spoke about. This is something very scary. Who are these people? Sahaba, companions of the Prophet ﷺ. Kuntum khayra ummatin, the best generation, the best nation. And what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying about them? That had it not been for the favor and mercy of Allah, you would have been punished. Because what you did was wrong. What you did is not acceptable. And the word that has been used over here, فِيمَا أَفَضْتُمْ فِيهِ, because of what you indulged in. أَفَضْتُم is from the root letters fa, ya, dad. Fayd. And fayd is to overflow. We have read this word earlier. ثُمَّ أَفِيضُوا مِنْ حَيْثُ أَفَاضَ النَّاسِ. Or تَفِيضُ مِنَ الدَّمْعِ, تَرَى أَعْيُنَهُمْ تَفِيضُ مِنَ الدَّمْعِ, which is to overflow. And when this word is used for a conversation, when it is used for some speech, for some talk, then it is when a person indulges in a conversation, that one topic leads to another topic. And a person is so engrossed in that conversation for such a long time that he forgets about other things. So, أَفَضْتُمْ فِيهِ, you spoke in detail about it. It was so small. Something so small. What actually happened? And you blew it out of proportion. You just saw Aisha radhiyallahu anha coming on an animal that was being led by Safwan. Something so small. He was performing his duty, that if someone is forgotten, someone is left behind, something is lost, something is left behind, his duty was to bring it. That's it. He was doing his job, and you blew that out of proportion. You spoke so much about it, that what actually happened was presented as something completely different. فِيمَا أَفَضْتُمْ فِيهِ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. So this ayah, what does it express? The anger and disapproval of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala against those people who actively participated in spreading this rumor. And in this is a great warning, that we have to be very, very careful about what we talk about the conversations that we indulge in, about the things, about the messages that we pass on. We have to be very, very careful about how we narrate something, how we report something, how we tell something to the other. Because sometimes what has happened is not really a big deal, but we blow it out of proportion. And we present it as something so huge, something that's such a big deal, whereas in reality it was not a big deal at all. Can you think of an example? Something that's not a big deal, but just the way it's spoken of, it becomes a big deal. Many times these things happen. Like for example, what happens in the media all the time. That something small happens and, oh my God, such a big deal. But something in daily life as well. A relationship between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law. It's possible that the mother-in-law just says to the daughter-in-law, could you please just do the dishes? I'm really tired after cooking the food. And there she tells her parents, she's always telling me to wash dishes. She doesn't let me put the dishwasher on. She makes me wash them by hand. And I'm so tired, look at my hands, they're drying up. My fingernails are getting chipped. And blowing it out of proportion. The poor lady has been standing the whole time cooking. You don't have to cook. She just asks you to wash the dishes. And there you are, blowing it completely out of proportion. And presenting something that's not really a big deal as such a big deal. This is exaggeration. And sometimes exaggeration becomes what? A lie. A big lie. That sometimes when a person is living with people whom he doesn't want to live in, she doesn't want to live with, right? In a house, in a family, in a circumstance, in a particular situation, in a particular house, she doesn't want to be there with those people. She wants to be independent. And things happen which are blown completely out of proportion. I can't survive there. I can't live here, not even for a moment. It's unbearable. Whereas in reality, it's not unbearable. It is definitely possible. And if a person thinks, لَا تَحْسَبُوهُ شَرٌّ لَكُمْ بَلْ هُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ, he will see so many good aspects to it. So many good things can come out of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us something that's so important that we could not perhaps learn otherwise. But because of our negative thinking, what happens? Something that is so small, we consider it to be so big. Right? We consider it to be so big, whereas in reality, it's not that big. For example, doing the lesson 7 times. It's not really a big deal. But we make it seem as though, oh my God, I have to spend 2 hours. And we tell our family members, and we tell our children, who don't even know head or tail about what we're doing perhaps, but all they know is my mom goes to Al-Huda, and she has a lot of work to do. Don't disturb her when she's doing the lesson. We blow it out of proportion. We make it as such a big deal. And when we present something as such a big deal, then what happens? It turns into a lie. Remember that. And sometimes we blow things out of proportion because they go against our nafs. Perhaps we don't like what's going on. We don't like the way somebody said something to us. We don't like the fact that we were told to go away or we were told to come in. And because of that, we completely misrepresent what happened. We completely misinterpret what happened. We forget how the other person said it, how the other person did it. And we blow things completely out of proportion. This especially happens when people are working together for deen. You see, these people were Sahaba, companions. They were special people. Obviously, Shaitan did not want that good relationships should exist between them. They were the army of the Prophet ﷺ, the students of the Prophet ﷺ. Those who were very close to him. So anytime people come together to work for the deen, these things happen. Things are blown out of proportion. Like for example, 2 people are working together. They have a very, very good relationship. And perhaps somebody comes and says something to them to reform whatever's going on, to correct the situation, to improve the work. And there is a 3rd person who is watching. And he assumes that, oh my God, things are not good between them. This person does not like this person because look how she corrected her. She corrected her. She pointed out her mistake. Therefore, she does not like her. And similarly, if, for example, being students, if we are called and we are told that what we have done is wrong or we should improve in something, what do we think? This teacher does not like me. This group in charge has a problem with me. This course in charge always finds faults in me. This is what we think. We blow things out of proportion. And if we put it in perspective, it's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. The problem is that we don't have husnul zan. We don't have good thinking about the other. If we have good thinking about the other, then we will not misinterpret what they're telling us. We see that the primary reason was the jealousy and the hatred that Abdullah ibn Ubay had in his heart. And because of that, he spoke up and everybody else, they followed him. So we have to keep our hearts clean. If there is some kind of enmity, some kind of jealousy for the other person, some feeling in our heart which is negative against the other person, then what's going to happen? We are going to read into every situation based on those feelings. This is how we're going to interpret them. And life is a test, and these situations are all tests. That how do we react? How do we behave? How do we respond? Do we keep things in perspective or do we blow them out of proportion? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِسْتَلَقَوْنَهُ بِأَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. When you received it with your tongues. تَلَقَوْنَهُ from the root letter is lam qafiyah. لَقِيَ to meet. And تَلَقَّى is to receive something. And it's basically in the intangible sense. فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ. Now kalimat, words, you don't receive them in the form of a package that is in a box. So similarly, إِسْتَلَقَوْنَهُ when you were receiving it, when you were perceiving it, when you were accepting it, when you were coming across it. And what does it refer to? The slander, the accusation. بِأَلْسِنَتِكُمْ with your tongues. Now how does a person receive something with his tongue? By passing it on. That you receive it and you pass it on. You hear it and you talk about it. And what happens then when a person talks about what he has received? He is propagating it. So when you received it with your tongues, meaning you were propagating it, يَرْوِيَهُ بَعْضُكُمْ عَنْ بَعْضٍ. Some of you were narrating it from others. It became into a rumor. I heard it from so-and-so. Who said that so-and-so? Who said that so-and-so? Right? إِسْتَلَقَوْنَهُ بِأَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَتَقُولُونَ بِأَفْوَاهِكُمْ. And you were saying with your mouths, meaning you spread this rumor from mouth to mouth. You were saying with your mouths, مَا لَيْسَ لَكُمْ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, what you did not have any knowledge of. And you see, بِأَفْوَاهِكُمْ, you were saying just with your mouths, meaning it was coming out of your mouths without you using your mind. You weren't thinking about what you were saying. You were uttering it, but you weren't thinking about it. And you said it without being sure of it. You said it without confirming it. وَتَقُولُونَ بِأَفْوَاهِكُمْ مَا لَيْسَ لَكُمْ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. And why did you do that? Why did you just pass on what you heard? وَتَحْسَبُونَهُ هَيِّنًا. And you were thinking it to be hayyinan, easy, something that is simple, something that is of little importance. But in reality, وَهُوَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ عَظِيمٌ. But it wasn't in the sight of Allah great. How? In its sin, in its wizard, in its consequences. Something very, very great. The reason why you propagated it, the reason why you narrated it, the reason why you spoke about it, was because you considered it to be of something that is insignificant. This is why you did not disagree with it. This is why you were okay with it. This is why you just passed it on. You thought it wasn't a big deal. Whereas in reality, in the sight of Allah, it was a serious matter. Because such a thing was being said about who? The wife of the Prophet ﷺ. You see, falsely accusing someone, defaming their honor, is not something small. It's not a small thing. We think it's a small thing. Which is why so casually we can backbite others. So casually we can say, oh, that person is not honest. That person is not dedicated. That person is not hardworking. We say so many things that are negative about other people. And in reality, we're defaming them. Whereas we see over here that such statements, we think of them to be hayyin, but they are in the sight of Allah, azim. They are great in the sight of Allah. Because the consequences of such statements are severe. Very severe. Because first of all, it is ghibah, backbiting. And what is backbiting? That you mention, that you talk about your brother of something that he would dislike. ذِكْرُكَ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يَكْرَهُ. Something that he would dislike, something you would not like. And you say it behind his back, and you think it's not a big deal. There is an incident in which the Prophet ﷺ, he was traveling with some of his companions, Abu Bakr, as well as Umar radiyallahu anhuma. And they had a servant with them, who was supposed to serve them food. And there was a time when they took a nap, and the servant, he was sleeping as well, and he continued to sleep. He did not wake up. So Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, Umar radiyallahu anhu, they were talking amongst themselves, and they said something such as, your companion is still sleeping, in a derogatory way, that, oh, he's still sleeping. Statements such as that, they said. And eventually they woke him up and they said, bring the food, and asked the Prophet ﷺ to send the food. So when that servant went to the Prophet ﷺ and asked for food, for Umar and Abu Bakr, he said that tell them you have already eaten. Tell them you've already eaten. So the servant went and told them, and they got concerned. They went to the Prophet ﷺ and they said, what did you mean by that, you already eaten? He said, you said this about your companion. And I can see the flesh between your teeth. That what you said was ghiba. And ghiba is what? As though you are eating the flesh of your dead brother. Imagine. Umar radiallahu anhu, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, those who became the Khalifa, the leaders of the believers, those who were given good news of paradise while they were alive. But even from them, backbiting was not acceptable. Even from them, saying something negative about another believer was not acceptable. And negative, what was it? He sleeps a lot, he's still sleeping. Or something like that. And we say such statements all the time. Thinking that we're very humorous. Thinking we're very smart, we're very clever. تَحْسَبُهُ هَيِّنًا وَهُوَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ عَظِيمٌ. It's great. It's major in the sight of Allah. Many times we say some things that are so hurtful, and then we say, I'm only joking. I'm only kidding. I'm not that serious. You've caused the damage. You've caused the hurt. The angels have written. We have to become very serious about these statements, about these words. And many times what happens? We receive an email. Somebody says something to us, and immediately, forward, without even checking if it's authentic or not. Without even confirming if it's true or not. We think it's not a big deal, but in reality it is a big deal.